So Paul Mashatile, who is widely seen as the frontrunner to succeed President Cyril Ramaphosa as ANC's president and possibly South Africa's next head of state, has come under serious public scrutiny in the past week. So all of this began with the annual register of members' interest, which forces members of parliament to declare their assets. This basically acts as a vital tool to ensure accountability to the public. So in the June 2025 edition of this Register of Members' Interest report, Paul Mashatile this is where he then declared that he stays or resides in two high-end properties, one which is in Constantia in the Western Cape, which is valued at 28.9 million, as well as another property which he also frequents in Waterfall, Johannesburg. This property is valued at 34 million. Now, within this declaration, what members of parliament are required to do is to declare any financial interests. And these include, number one, property ownership, shares, gifts and sponsorships, benefits from any entity, as well as stated by this Register of Members' Interest, residences they regularly use, even if not formally owned. So it is within this residences of regular use that led to the declaration by Paul Mashatile, and not necessarily ownership, which he does emphasize the fact that I do not own these properties, but I just merely reside there or frequent at these properties. And for some reason, according to Paul Mashatile, which comes across in this clip that I'm about to show you, he does not think that this is a problem. The fact that he frequents these properties which are very high priced. In fact, in this very clip, he tells a reporter that, listen, I'm busy with other things. I would rather be focused on other issues that pertain to my job. You questioning me about this declaration is of no importance, according to Paul Mashatile.
Luxury property valued at 28.9 million rand in Constantia and Cape Town. He says the property belongs to his son-in-law and he just lives there. Mashatile has come under scrutiny after declaring two luxury properties with a combined value of 65 million rand, despite earnings just over 3 million rands annually. Mashatile listed the properties, one in Constantia, Cape Town, and another in Waterfall, Midrand, Gauteng, in the latest parliamentary register of members' interests. Our reporter Simpiwe Makanya asked him about the property a little earlier.
Deputy President, please indulge me on this one. I'm sure you are aware of the reports that have been circulating, particularly with regards to the declarations that you made in Parliament, with regards to the properties that you owned. The issue that perhaps South Africans are concerned about is there seems to be an allegation that senior government officials are using their positions to amass wealth and live in luxury. What is your response, particularly as it pertains to you?
What properties do I own?
The one in Constantia that you declared in Parliament?
No. People must read. That's just first thing you must learn in life. There's nothing in Parliament that I said I own a house. I said I live there. That house is owned by my son-in-law. It's a very simple thing to read. So what's the problem?
The allegations, Deputy President, that government officials are using their positions in government to amass wealth for their families. What is your reaction just on that, basically?
Which government officials?
Politicians in particular.
Which politicians?
The allegation, Deputy President, that you in your position are using the...
Are you talking about me or politicians?
You in particular, with regards to just these allegations.
But I've answered. I don't use government money. There's no government money in those houses. So what are you looking for? It's not government money. So I don't know what are your problems. It's a private home. It's owned by the family. It's not government. So how does government come in? I work for government. I get paid a salary. That's all. I'm here to push development in the rural areas, not to come and talk about my property in Cape Town.
Now, the very same Paul Mashatile, there have been multiple news media reports, particularly News 24. They've written multiple stories. I know Daily Maverick has also written a couple of stories dating back as far back as 2024 of possible patronage, accusing Paul Mashatile of patronage because of the fact that these properties, the one in Constantia as well as the one in Waterfall, are linked to family members who frequently or get benefit from government tenders, multiple government tenders, not just one, right? Now let's go along with the idea of patronage, right? Now that we know there's actual evidence of his family members that he is linked to directly who are benefiting from government tenders. This is a huge problem and just not something that Paul Mashatile can just simply get away with because he just brushed it off with the media. It's not that kind of situation because of patronage, right? Patronage meaning people who are getting government contracts, even if they do not deserve to get the contracts, but because of their close proximity, that is the reason why they're getting these contracts, is the reason why as South Africans we're sitting with the major crisis now of broken infrastructure. Our roads are in such a state, it's appalling. If you're not on a highway in South Africa, you are bound to come across some issue or not. And that cannot be the norm. Dilapidated infrastructure is not the norm. That is not what we expect as taxpayers. It is the very reason why patronage is a problem, a huge problem as the public, and we should treat it as such. I also made a note in my prep here that the cost of living crisis also directly links to these very problems because there is a huge crisis where our income is taxed highly. We have no breathing space. Once your income lands into your account, before it even gets into your account, there's already a bill from the government that is taken through the form of tax, but we tax for absolutely nothing. You tax, but you still have to pay for your own medical fees. You get taxed, but you still have to pay for additional fees, either through security measures or to have additional security in your property or to live in estates. We've dealt with this previously in my channel in terms of why we are being taxed almost 3 times the price that we see in our payslips, right? And the cost of living, this high taxes links directly to the government having to spend more and more money by dishing out these contracts to family members. And I'm going to say it like this, right? To some extent, I don't even blame Paul Mashatile. I don't blame him because Paul Mashatile is upfront. He's honest with the public that, listen, I like the best in life. I like a good life. I like to live in the best areas. I don't have time to be struggling. Me and my family, we like nice things, right? That's Paul Mashatile and his circle of friends and family members, son and all of that. There have been so many reports of this guy. It's unbelievable. He has shown to us that he likes a good life. Now, when people vote for the African National Congress, which put Paul Mashatile in the position that he's in now, where he's able to get away with these things, if indeed these things are proven to be true, by voting for the African National Congress, you are approving of the behavior. And that becomes the fundamental takeaway here. You see what these guys are up to. You see what they're all about. They're all about the spending, the high life, and using the government to get through that. If they were going about it in their own means, absolutely, I have no problem. Go ahead. They are using the government as a critical vehicle in order for them to obtain wealth. As a journalist, you saw in the clip, pushing Paul Mashatile that you guys are doing this using your positions to attain these high-end properties that are valued at 30 million, 28 million and all of that. They're showing you what they're about by voting for the African National Congress. Like I said, he could be the head of state. He could very much be the next head of state. By voting for Paul Mashatile, you are approving of this behavior. You are saying, I love it when you take government money. I love it when you take state money, give it to your friends, when your buddies and friends and family benefit from contracts, whether they the right people for the job or not, you are saying you are okay with that. And I mean, that is such a big problem. Because what does that say about us as the voter base? I came across a clip here by News 24 where they were speaking about these contracts that are given to sons and sons-in-laws of this Paul Mashatile. It is said that they don't even pay their own staff members. There's one contract that was about fixing water in Gauteng, if I'm not mistaken. The employees that were hired by the company, this is now according to News 24, the employees that were hired by this company came forward to the media and said, we have not been paid by the same company that is linked to the family members of Paul Mashatile.
In June 2022, 2 companies named Ngwata and Manzi Group and Modipadi Nokaneng were awarded a panel contract by the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development to service fire sprinklers and fire alarms at public hospitals across the province. The 2 companies are deeply linked to Paul Mashatile's sons, Tinyiko Mvalase and Tabiso Mashatile. Since 2022, the 2 companies have been paid 38 million rand and are owed a further 12 million rand for the work that they've done. We are not sure whether the work that they have been paid for was completed and whether it was done satisfactorily. The reason why this has come to light now is because News 24 was approached by about a dozen workers who were retrenched from Ngwata and Manzi Group. Since September 2024, Mashatile's sons have been promising to pay them. They are owed just under 220,000 rand in accumulated settlement payments. To date, they still have not been paid that money.
Even with this picture right here, I know it's doing the rounds on social media. ANC held its NEC meeting, whatever, that waste of time, whatever it's called. There we see Senzo Mchunu sitting side by side, the former Minister of Higher Education. Despite the public outcry, despite the fact that they have both expressed or shown signs that they are not the leaders that we need and so forth, guess what? ANC gives them lovely cushioning at this meeting. They are very much good members in the ANC, members in good standing, as we see there. So at some point we have to not blame these guys, because these guys are upfront, right? They're upfront. None of what they do is hidden. It's hidden in plain sight, but it's there. We can all see. Now, the question is, what does this say about us? The IEC, if you look at the national elections that took place in 2024, they reported that 58.6% of the registered voters cast their votes and those votes were considered valid. So total, 58.6% of the registered voters in South Africa. Now, from this 58.6%, 40.8% went to the ANC. Let's think about that. That is, the ANC was very, very close to yet again receiving a far out majority. 40.8% from 50.6% of not only people who registered to vote, but people who went and cast their vote, who stood in those long queues. What does this say about us? That is the question I want to ask today. What does this say about us? Because we can talk until we are blue in the face about what they are doing, what the conduct is. The question is, what does this say about us? That's the question. And sometimes you ask yourself that maybe South Africans and the ANC, maybe there's a reason why the ANC keeps winning. Maybe because South Africans are about that life of all of these things that we see in the ANC. Maybe that's who we are. Majority of us are like that as a society. I mean, I wouldn't want to believe that is the case, but maybe that is a reason why 40.8% of registered valid votes went towards the African National Congress. Because I'm of the belief that I think within this 40.8%, there's a batch there who are loyalists for whatever reason. Then there are those who are very much benefiting. So whether they like it or not, they are going to vote. Then there's probably a huge number of people there who just don't know what they're doing. And that's a fact. There's a huge portion from this 40.8% who just don't know what they're doing. Like I said, it has to be us. These guys, it's out in the open. There are so many reports. It's not even a shock anymore when you read these things. Like I said, if we continue to vote, if Paul Mashatile indeed comes forward and he makes it through the electoral conference of the ANC and he's elected as the president of the ANC and he's put forward as the next head of state for South Africa, and again, it's this 40.8% or even higher, the question is, what does that say about us? Because we know what they're about. And trust and believe these people won't change. If we don't give them a reason to change, why would they change? They found their way around the courts. They have found their ways around the rhetoric. They come here, they tell us a long story. They know how to use, their platform. They know how to, get us going. They know how to fix this and fix that. They have probably great PR strategists who help them to get the message across. And off you go, 40.8%. And you say, no, I'm going to vote for these guys. What does that say about us? Cool. Thank you, guys. I'm going to leave it at that for this video. And I just want to give a reminder that we are on a road to 10,000 subscribers here on this YouTube channel. So if you come across my videos or you watch my videos and you haven't subscribed, this is a reminder, or this serves as a reminder to say, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also like this video, which is completely free, and it goes a long way. Leave a comment. What are your thoughts? Where do you stand? Are you absolutely livid to see Senzo Mchunu in good spirits, the so-called on special leave minister, a fired minister of higher education for wrongdoing, by the way. It's not like they just fired for the sake of it. They fired for their own actions. To see them so cushioned and so happy at this NEC meeting, how does that make you feel? Because these are the very things that we as the voter base need to take into our decision making. So when it comes to elections, these are the same things that need to be considered when it comes to voting. We cannot turn a blind eye to these things. Until when? Like I said, it is not normal for us to live in these conditions. It is not normal that the city of Joburg looks the way that it looks now. It is not normal that our roads are in the condition that they're in now. It is not a norm, and we should do something about it. It starts with us as the voter.